Well, Mountain Heritage is not anything but a big flea market with music.
Looks like your opening's gonna be running about 4 minutes.
Right.
4 minutes?
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna run about 4 minutes.
Yeah, that ain't bad.
You're live.
We on the television, Bob.
Are we on?
Yeah, you too.
Well, how about the hell, folks? We welcome you here to the Wednesday night edition of the Wild Bob Marley Show, brought to you by UGG TV.
Yeah, we're just like
You're-
Milton
Are
Berle,
we
traffic
on
stops
the-
and everything.
We're on the web too, aren't we?
Well, not live, but we will be on the web.
Right, okay, all right. But
Well, we may be on Channel 12. I don't know. There's
Right.
kind of hit and miss, but we'll have a good version of this up
Right,
on YouTube
right,
sometime after a while, maybe even in the morning.
right. Well, we want to welcome you here, whether you're with us or not.
What do you like, Bob, or not?
Right, exactly right. And you better be careful about all those remarks that you make tonight, because I got my hearing aid in.
Yeah, Bob, you remember if you was watching last week, I told Bob that I would give him a hearing aid as long as he'd wear it. And if he failed to wear it, he had to pay me back. And you know, Bob knows how to take care of a dollar, so he's wearing it.
Yeah, I do. That was the right cough drop.
You're not supposed to swallow them whole.
I thought cough drops were supposed to make you cough.
Well, I guess they are. I hadn't thought about it. Jumping beans make you jump.
I reckon so. You know, I don't know, this interests a lot of people, what's going on in Washington and Syria and everywhere, and some of it just disgusts me. And I want to mention this, even though it's really more important what we talk about here locally than what goes on in Washington.
Because they're going to do it anyway, and we can't
I
help
would
it.
hate to think that if in August of 2012 I had issued an ultimatum that if you cross this line, that we're going to take action. This is regarding what Barack Obama said regarding Syria and the use of poisonous gases. Okay?
Well, I don't know whether we agree or not for this
I
reason.
don't either, but let me tell you.
Go ahead.
And follow through with the thinking, assuming that everything is as they say it is, okay? And assuming that he gave this red line that wasn't going to be crossed in August of 2012. And here it is, August of 2013, and they have spit over his hand again. Now, the fact that he didn't do anything on August the 12th, I felt, if he's not going to do anything, don't say you're going to, okay?
I go along with that.
Here in August of 2013, still hadn't done anything, but the problem as I see it, from August of 2012 to August 2013, he ought to know what his options are. He ought to have been ready once he determines that he determined to his satisfaction that Assad's government was the one that did the poisonous gas. He shouldn't have to be fumbling and fiddling around, developing a coalition, deciding what response he's going to be. It reminds me of Bill Clinton when he kept threatening Saddam Hussein, and all he would do would be to launch 2 or 3 missiles over there. Then he'd get back under the desk with Monica Lewinsky and forget about it.
Well, let me ask you a question. How long have people, you reckon, been living in Syria?
In Syria,
Yeah.
it's one of the oldest civilizations in the world.
Okay, my next question is, in 1776, where were they at then? I don't remember them coming to help us.
Well, don't understand that, yeah.
So I don't think we should be issuing any red lines to anybody that's not out there actually fighting for freedom and independence.
Well,
they're not wanting freedom and independence, they're just wanting a different dictatorship.
Right, well, they won't, actually, this is all part of a worldwide Muslim movement.
Yeah. I don't think we ought to help either
to
side.
install Muslim governments and Sharia law and to dominate the world.
Well, if Allah is the true God, let Him sort it out. And I'm not convinced that the rebels wasn't the ones who sent the gas over. I don't think it's that Assad is above that, but I think them fellas are hurting for some help and decided to pull somebody over their side. But I'm like you, if you issue an ultimatum, you ought to have your ducks in a row when it comes time.
He shouldn't have to.
But should
12
never, my opinion, should never have issued that ultimatum.
Right, after 12 months, you shouldn't be fumbling and fiddling, and I could put it a different way, around, trying to come up with what options you got. You ought to know what options you got. Fumbling around and trying to come up with a coalition when really all that is just a bunch of names saying that they go along with what you're doing. It's not going to mean any real help. The only force you got in that area is the United States and Israel.
When we have the capability of being energy independent in this country, I think it's time to let them fellas go back to the 12th century and kill out who's left, and we'll go in and maybe make friends with whoever's left that's in our benefit. And I'm not presenting, well, I wasn't for the red line issuance to begin with, and I'm not for going in there and spending one drop of blood of an American soldier, and I don't think one nickel spent over there will make us a dime, it won't make us a penny, it won't return our nickel.
Well, it's one of those situations for the United States where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
You don't paint yourself in a corner like they did a year ago, either.
Right. And I agree with you 100%. I would say I would just continue to arm Israel, let them take care of the situation.
Yeah, I'm for that. I'm for that.
They're sitting there and they're going to get Iran.
That's the only representative government we've got in the Middle East, and some of the people there don't like us too much. The Jews in this country hate conservatives.
More Arabs live under freedom and democracy in Israel than anywhere else in the world.
Yep. And I don't think we ought to be out there trying to prop up a government who will unabashedly declare that they want to murder everybody in Israel, kill all the Jews, and take the country. You can argue about whether the Palestinians have a right to that or not, but the Jews is there somewhere. They're entitled to some patch of land.
Well, actually, they have, some of the archaeologists have just recently determined through their findings there in Jerusalem that the Jews were there a long time before they thought they were. Now, the Jews are the only ones that have ever really had a legal claim on that area.
Well, if you believe in Christianity and Judaism, God gave them that place. But if you don't believe that, you still have to go back and follow the title of ownership way back there. The Palestinians, I don't understand why it is that they're considered refugees. We've never had, when we displaced the Spanish who were here, when we displaced the French, we displaced the Spanish in Florida in that area. We displaced the French in Louisiana and up in the far northern states. We displaced the English. We displaced the Indians, and they're not considered refugees. I don't understand it, but I do understand it. I really think it's got something to do with the biblical prophecy, but I'm just an old fogey.
The Jews actually displaced very few people when they went back into Israel in 1948. 90% of your Palestinian refugees were kicked out of your Muslim countries.
Yeah, there's a lot more land out there in the hands
of kicked out of Lebanon, they were kicked out of Jordan, they were kicked out of Iraq, they were kicked out of Syria, That's where the
Well,
Palestinians.
they have the opportunity to assimilate in just about all of those countries, but they want to go back and claim a homeland that I don't. Their right of ownership is questionable. The thing about it is, when they want to declare ownership of something that they may or may not have any title to, and then the whole world comes out, you got all the Arab countries, Muslim countries, wanting to give the Palestinians a homeland, but you don't see any of them wanting to carve out part of Lebanon or Jordan or
Syria.
I mean, they live in these places, but they don't actually have a homeland. You don't see anybody from Yemen. There's a lot of wasted land there in Yemen that's just as good as that they're wanting to take. I mean, it's just a dried up desert, but that's all they're fighting for anyway. They'll sooner or later figure out how to get some oil out of Yemen, and they'll be rich too.
Right, that's true, very, very true. And the problem as I see it, that they do not want to accept anything less than complete annihilation of the Jewish state.
Well, yeah, you know, they always trade land for peace, and the Jews have been trading and trading and trading, and they never get their response. They never get.
Right. Well, then they started.
Quo.
Then they started. What was it? War in 1967.
67, yeah.
67.
6-day war? Is that what it was? 6-day war? Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's when Israel whipped a whole bunch in 6 days. Okay, all right.
And that made believers out of the Egyptians. They buddied up and have been
Right. Well,
kind of.
yeah, old Sadat, he came around mighty quick, and then his own people killed him. You know.
Yeah. You know, you can say what you want to, but those people don't understand a peaceful gesture. They only understand negotiation from strength. The Jews realize that. You go over and spit in their face, they kick you in the, well, they take care of things.
Right.
They don't back up from anything. Of course, now they've got the advantage, and have had for years, whether they're, I don't know how secure they feel in now, but they've always had the understanding that if they got in really deep, we would pull together somebody or come ourselves and dig them out. You know, when they did that rescuing in Tibby, you remember that?
And TV, yeah.
When they went in there, and I mean, they went in there and just landed and went in there and just kicked them guys' butts and rescued the hostages, lost one guy. That was Netanyahu's brother.
Right.
And he was a soldier, and they got a lucky shot off and killed him. But they pulled off.
Needy our men, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
They pulled off a terrific, smooth operation, but they knew that if they got in too deep, they had us to help them out. So you can do stuff when you know you've got a buddy that'll help you. Compare that to what we did when we went in to rescue the Iranian hostages. We couldn't even fly helicopters. They got sand in the motors and crashed.
Well, we just about got the second Jimmy Carter.
Second coming of Jimmy Carter.
Second coming of Jimmy. Somebody thought he was Messiah that was coming, but he's a reincarnation of Jimmy.
Well, Jimmy ain't dead.
Huh?
Jimmy ain't dead.
Well, maybe it's a reincarnation of Orville Redenbacher.
If we could get Billy back now.
Who?
Billy?
Billy, yeah, I know. Right?
Billy's a pretty good old guy. He drunk that Billy.
You know, I went down by Billy's service station and met him one time.
Yeah, I didn't meet him, but I've been there.
Yeah, I did. I went when he was living.
Yeah. Well, he was living when I was there, but he wasn't at home. There's a little old hole in the wall place.
I know, yeah, I know. And, yeah,
You ever been to Andersonville Prison?
No, I know where it's at.
You know, there were some people from this area that were prisoners in Andersonville. It was the Confederate prison for Yankee soldiers, and there was a gentleman, I believe his name was Cooper, who had been a prisoner. I read an account of what he said one time. He was a prisoner at Andersonville. And the story went, and he'd give this talk in churches sometimes. He would, he said, that, and I've read it other places, but they were confined inside two fences. And in the inner fence, there was no water available. And between the two fences, there was a spring. And they were allowed one time a day to take whatever containers they had out there and get, if it was a cup or if it wasn't nothing but a leaky hat or whatever, they could go out there and either get a drink or get one container full of water and bring back in. Well, they were dying from dehydration. You can't live on a hat full of water with a leaky hat. You can't go out and get one drink a day and come in and survive. So they had a problem, and they all had a prayer meeting. And they prayed for deliverance. And there was a spring broke out in the middle of the inner fence. And these people, these soldiers, these prisoners, were able to drink there for the rest of the war. And that was their water source. Now, you can decide however you want to, whether prayer had anything to do with it, whether maybe it was just all the foot traffic and stuff and managed, and maybe they dug a little, who knows. And I'm sure it was tied into the other spring in some way. But that spring was running, it ran throughout the entire war. It's still running. They called it Providence Spring. And
I've heard it.
I've drunk out of it, although it has a sign up, this water not fit for human consumption, and I ain't dead yet. And that's been 30-something years ago, so it's slow acting.
Right.
But the old man that
You
used
don't think we need to call Vital Care?
No, might want to call some zoning or codes expert though. The old man that gave this lecture, the account I read, somebody asked him, who they said, you know, don't you suppose that was just because of all the activity there? And maybe, he said, don't, tell you what, boy, tell you what made that spring. He said, we prayed and the Lord made that spring. And he went to his grave saying the same thing. And you can think whatever you want to.
Right. Well, you know, I never doubt the wisdom or the ability of the Lord to intervene in human affairs.
Well, we're going to take a break from church here shortly. I've got a commercial coming up. She's going to tell me when. So we'll break away. We'll be right back.
Right.
No, I'd say you wouldn't want to be second guessing anybody that can control the lightning and make the thunder hurt your ears.
Right.
Seems like your new hearing aids are working pretty good.
That's not bad. It's not bad, yeah. I'll tell you what's true. The train went by outside and I had that thing on. I thought it was going to blast my eardrum out.
Well, it expires after a while. I'm going to start renting it to you after a little while. I'll give you a new code every week.
30 times it's supposed to.
I'll give you a new code every week.
Yeah, yeah. Are we ready?
ready?
For the commercial?
Here's a commercial.
When I get done playing it, I'm gonna put it on the desk up there on Bill's desk. You wanna grab it?
Okay. You mean out front, right? Okay. You're going to tell us when to start talking again, ain't you?
I sure will.
Oh, you're a good woman. Good women are hard to find.
Especially as good as me.
I know that. Pink breeches and everything.
Well, folks, I guess we're still on the internet.
Well, yeah, when it gets published, we'll still be on the internet.
We don't want to just completely forget you while we're here giving you the benefit of our experiences. And I want to launch into a little bit of my tirade that I started the other night on the internet.
Well, you can do that all you want to, and we're going to have to work in 4 commercials for long, too.
Right, okay, we can do that.
But I'm done talking. You can have it now. Somebody's calling us.
All right.
Hello.
Hey,
How are you? Is he home? Yeah. There, you got your eyes fixed. I ain't heard from you. I was afraid to call and ask. That's all right. I'm fat enough already. Well, how's your husband? You look like he's gonna pull out of it, or is he? You said he was at home, didn't you? Well, I don't know. They wouldn't have finished killing him anyway. That's what they're doing to my daddy. Well,
I think it's about to go back.
you'd probably be safer up there than you are where you at. Probably safer. Yeah.
You're live.
I gotta go. We're back on the
We're back on the tube, folks.
Take care of
We'll
yourself.
welcome you back after the commercial.
Okay, see you.
Let you know that we're still here live.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
us.
I'm Pinchy said, yeah, you live.
Live, we're live more or less.
Right, yeah.
Now, you want to do your rant, or you want to tell them about some of our great sponsors? What you want to do
I'll
first?
talk about some of our wonderful spots.
Well, now Dixie Concrete can make concrete that's suitable to eat off of. It's
Yeah.
just as slick as it can be. 562-5656. They're down there on Old Jacksboro Pike, the only concrete tower on the road down through there.
Right.
And they made the floor for Food City.
You know something that you can do with Dixie Concrete. There's a lot of things you can do, but let me mention one thing. You can form out a form on the top of your counter. Okay?
Yeah, you could.
And you can put the type of concrete on the floor at Food City, and you can get that thing just as smooth, and you've got a perfect,
You got a stone countertop.
yeah, it's hard enough, you know, to resist Napoleon shooting one of his cannons at it.
It would have been good as the Sphinx's nose had been made out of Dixie concrete.
That's right.
If you need any noses for your Sphinx, be sure to call Dixie. They're good people to deal with.
Right.
You want to tell them about that freebie there?
Well, yeah, you've got the 12th annual Open Car Truck and Motor Show, sponsored by the Lock Cruisers Motorcycle Club. This is a local organization. It's happening September the 21st, which is a Saturday, and it runs from 10 a.m. in the morning until 4 p.m. in the afternoon. There's $1,000 total cash giveaway with $50 cash drawings as you go through the day. You got antique classics, you've got street rods and motorcycles, you got dash plaques for first 100 entries, there's trophies, there's ladies' choice, longest distance travel, club participation.
What's this lady's choice? I may want to enter.
It's the LA Cruisers Ladies' Choice, and I want.
Do you have to have a car?
I want to volunteer for that. Oh, do you have to
That's
have a
what I
car?
was asking. Do you have to have a car?
Well, I don't know. I thought they were talking about
You're
that.
not going to enter my truck. You can take yours, bruh.
Look, there is no entry fee to come in and look at these automobiles and enjoy the activities that are going on.
No admission fee. There is an entry fee to register
There's
your
no
car.
admission fee. Now, if you're gonna put a car in the show and have it buy for a plaque or for a ribbon or for an award, there's a $10 registration fee. It's gonna take place up at Campbell County High School, all across the big yard there, and you'll really enjoy seeing some of those old cars and some of them that have been redone and made into street rods and other type of automobiles. So if you need any information, just call 423-566-0733. That's 566-0733. or 423-566-1696. So come on out, that's on Saturday, September 21st at the Campbell County High School. And of course, this weekend you've got Mountain Heritage going on.
Yeah.
And I believe that's on Friday and Saturday night, isn't it?
I need to go up there and get some more soap. It's usually on Saturday and Sunday, ain't it?
Is it Saturday and Sunday?
It was last year.
Yeah, okay, well, it's whenever it usually is. And you'll enjoy it. They got good music up there. They got a lot of crafts, got good food, delicious food.
Got soap.
Pardon?
Got soap.
Yeah, they do that too. So just going up to Mountain Heritage and, you know.
Before you go, you know, you might want to be thinking about wintertime and get you some of Digger's propane.
Right,
He's got that there canned heat.
right. He still got a little bit of that summer propane.
Yeah, you're
back
gonna want to do a
he
little
needed.
grilling over
But he's
Labor Day.
gradually converting over to the hard cider type
Yeah.
propane.
562-5444. He's right in the middle of the road, Sawmill Holler, and he
Yeah.
ain't got run over yet.
And he was walking around policing the road this morning when I come by.
Must have had a shooting done or something.
I don't know, I guess that's what he was doing.
Digger's a good man.
Yeah.
He was my neighbor when I was a little boy. He's a little bit older than me, and we growed up over on different sides of the same hill. And he's good people. That's all I got to say about it. You can depend on him.
Mighty fine.
They even say he can sing, but I ain't convinced. I ain't never heard him sing.
I don't care what they say about you, Digger. You're okay in my book.
Yeah, me too. And what was that rant you wanted to?
Yeah, well,
Say it for us,
what
huh?
was I wanting to rant on about?
Yeah.
Well, you know, you got so much activity going on regarding white on black crimes and black on black crimes, and very little going on about black on white crimes. And as I mentioned last night, you know, I've come from a very varied background with my grandpa and grandma, and on that side being of a mixed origin, which, you know, of course made my mama and my daddy of mixed origin, and of course I guess it makes me of mixed origin. But
You look pretty mixed.
I've already mentioned on the television before that in 1937, my dad took a black boy into the family. And this boy was 10 or 11 years older than me. I think I was 3, and he was maybe 12, so I mean 9 or 10 years. And he lived with us from the time he was 12 years old until he graduated from school and got him a job. And he graduated from high school. That's one requirement my dad had, that he went to school every day. I think he was the only one out of his family that
Would
graduated.
you say that maybe family influences outcome?
Pardon?
Would you say that maybe family influences outcome?
I think living in my dad's home, which my dad was the head of the household, no doubt about that. He was maybe not always right, but he was always the boss. And he was probably right 99% of the time.
Yeah, he was the boss of hundreds.
Alvis Burnett was this boy's name, and Alvis graduated from high school. He only had 11 years when he graduated, 11th grade. And he went on to work for the Southern Railway. My dad helped him get a job there, and he retired from the Southern Railway. Owned his own home, educated his own children, lived down at a little community called Sedalia, North Carolina, where the Palmer Memorial Institute was located, which was headed by Dr. Charlotte Hawkins Brown, who supposedly was a descendant of Chicken George from the
Alex Haley's cousin.
roots. Yeah, okay. But what I'm saying, Alvis graduate from high school as a result of coming to live with, in my family.
Well, that was remarkable for somebody in that day and time, black or white, to actually graduate from high school. Very few people got to around
Well,
there.
my dad had 8 children. He had 8 out of 8 to graduate from high school. Okay, had 4 boys and 4 girls, and he had 8 out of 8 to graduate from high school.
How many in college?
I had, say, 1, 2, 4.
Ain't bad.
4 to go to college. You have to understand, my dad had 3rd grade education as far as the formal education is concerned. He was self-educated. My mother had some additional schooling, but after the first child was born in 1917, she never worked in public work anymore. Now, she worked hard on the farm, and she cooked a meal for everybody that was out there in the field, which Alvis, working in the family, he worked just like the rest of us. He's right in that field working. And when I came along, the more children you had, the better off you were.
Well, that's before they found out about you.
Today, the more children you got, the worse off you are. In fact, you might want to hear in a little bit, give them some of the problems that you're experiencing on your insurance in the coming months
Yeah.
with your children. But what I was going to say, Elvis graduated from high school. None of his brothers and sisters did. Elvis stayed with one job his entire life and retired. Elvis has passed on now. He had Alzheimer's. Okay? And that and some other complications took him away. I think he died at about 82 years old. Okay? And the reason I point this out, you know, you have so many people in this country, of which a great many of them are black, who are going nowhere with their lives. They're only a burden on the rest of the country. They are not people who produce, they're only people that consume. And I mentioned last
I don't
night,
care what color or what ethnicity or what religion or anything you are, if your family does not teach you that you're supposed to work and earn a living, you turn out to be a deadbeat.
well, that's one of the problems you find in the black community and in the poor community and the poor families, regardless of their color, is that the government has completely destroyed their family.
Yeah.
In the black community, there's 73%, 72 or 73% of the children that are born out of wedlock. They're born with no legal dad, and probably they don't even know who their dad is. It's like a social worker. I went down to this house, and this lady had about 12 children, and all of them were boys. And she said, well, what's their name? She went down the list, all of them was named Leroy. But the social worker said, wait a minute, all of them named Leroy. Said, how does each individual child know which one you're calling when you call them? She says, well, I had their last name on them. So
Oh boy.
that's not just
Bob Andrews.
that's not just in the black community. I know a woman in this community here who has had 7 children by 7 different men.
Where's she at now, by the way?
Probably getting another one.
Is that what's going on?
Yeah, probably getting another one.
I lost track of her. I forgot about her.
What about money?
TV.
Hey,
Red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in His sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. You keep that haircut, boys. You saw that little girl that got 2 long
that's what does it?
I know that's what does
I
it.
think she had a heart problem, didn't she? Okay.
That's exactly what.
Now, Bob won't have to worry about that, will he?
No, I would not have to, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't resemble that remark.
Okay, I didn't want to get on you about anything tonight.
Well, I've got a haircut since last week.
Right?
Did
I
it?
got one today.
Done it myself. I've got a Flowbee.
You had some of that blood put on it, what you did.
No, it isn't. I cut it. I ain't got no blue, and I would buy some if I could find it, though.
Hey,
I want to be a blue hair.
go down to Sally. She's got every color you want.
That's where I'll go. I'll go there and get me some blue hair.
This is not
Is that where you get? Is that where you get yours?
Yep.
Okay.
It keeps the yellow streaks from
Yeah,
showing.
we don't want no yellow streaks. We want to be blue hairs.
If I
Right.
get out in the sun and without my cap,
I dyed the top of my head blue.
I sweat and she has to wash the salt out of it.
Well, you're just gonna have to quit eating salt. You won't have that problem.
I mean, when I sweat,
I know what you're talking about. You're eating too much salt.
I do not eat much salt. I can't stand that old bitter salt substitute stuff.
Well, you don't supposed to eat that potassium. That ain't good for you either. You get enough potassium from banana. You need to just lay off that sodium salt, sodium chloride. You know, you take sodium, it'll explode, and chloride is deadly poison. You mix them together and then eat them.
Sandwich with a little salad dressing on it. If you don't have a little bit of salt on it, that stuff's not fit to eat.
I'll tell you one thing, ain't no counting. And it don't take much. You can oversalt them in a hurry, but if you make you some beans and don't put salt in, you ain't got nothing but dishwater.
That's so true. What we need in this country is Bob Andrews put some of his money in the till and open some factories and get us some jobs.
Yeah, you need to open some factories with all your money, Bob.
Right.
Well, when he gets it open, maybe I'll get a job.
You need one since you don't do anything.
I know I don't ever strike a lick of the snake.
He's got his jobs over in North Carolina and South Carolina.
I don't know how anything ever got done around me. I didn't do none of it.
If he's gonna be here, he needs to open some factories.
My daddy told me one time when we was putting rafters on a building, it was Christmas Day, and the rafters had ice on top of them, and we was about over 30 feet off the ground.
I do know the feeling.
And he said, you know, if anybody ever wants to know who built this, tell them what you was doing on Christmas Day. I mean, you had to be careful. We didn't dare walk on them. We slid on them because they had ice on them.
Sandy had a hard time that Christmas.
Yeah, he did. That was Christmas Day, though.
You have to be careful.
See ya. Well, if you need to get tucked to the hospital, I'd have to highly recommend you ride with Vital Care because they know how to take care of their victims.
That just call 562-9370 and you're going to get Vital Care. Or if you can't remember the number, just dial 911, tell them you want Vital Care to come pick you up.
They'll haul Bob. He tested their service. He sacrificed and bit the bullet and drunk the rotten mater juice and rode with Vital Care. They kept him alive, so you know who to blame.
Right, I'm living proof of tender loving care.
Vital Care of Campbell County and Napa Auto Parts. I've not got my forklift finished. I need to do that. They told me they had a part for my 1970-something Toyota forklift, but I got to take it off and change it. But they don't back up from nothing. They ain't a bit shy. You go in there with a toothpick for a billy goat, and they'll have one somewhere.
I guarantee you they can do that. You know, what I need to do, I may need to, when it gets winter time, it gets the ice on the roof of my house, I wonder if they got any chains to fit the feet on those goats.
They don't need it. They don't fall. 562-9406 if you want to call Napa and ask them about something. They'll help you. They ain't just there to get everything they can. They'll help you out.
They're interested in solving your problem, just like a lot of the things that we talk about here, all we're talking about is the problems and not the solution. Napa has the solution to your automotive needs, whether it be an oil change. They got good specials going on good quality oil with the filter. They've got starting fluid. They've got all
You even got
sorts of-
stopping fluid.
Yeah.
You ever seen any of that stopping
Yeah,
fluid?
that's called brake fluid.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So go down and see Randy, and they're right on Jacksboro Pike across from IGA, and I guarantee you, he'll get, if you ain't got it, he'll get what you need. And now meanwhile, back to talk what I talk about black people. You know, I mentioned last night, and I've mentioned it before, that America
This
has
is
always,
definitely a racist show.
that America has always been the melting pot of the world. You've had the white, the English people and the French people to come in, the Spanish people. You've had the Irish. You've had the Italians. You had the Puerto Ricans. All of them started off at the bottom of the social chain. And in some ways they fought, clawed, and worked their way until they were accepted into the society, even though nobody wanted to have anything to do with the Irish when they first come here. Nobody wanted to have anything to do with the Italians or the Puerto Ricans. Now, these people assimilated into the fabric of this country. But I'm firmly convinced that one of the problems, and there are reasons why this has happened, but the main problem is that the African people of African descent in this country have refused to melt.
Well, now, they had some laws against some of that melt in there for a
Well, I know
while.
they did when, when they were slaves, naturally, they were not gonna melt into the society.
Well, they done more melting back then than they did after Jim Crow
Well,
come
yeah,
along.
but then when they were released, there was a lot of opposition and regulation, rules and regulation that kept them from assimilating. And it was not until the passage of the...
If I could find me a good-looking, rich, conservative-minded black woman, I'd do some melting.
Pardon?
I said if I could find me a good-looking, rich, conservative-minded black woman, I'd do some melting.
Yeah, I would too. But I want to tell you one thing. Back in the civil rights laws came along in 1964, I believe, and they were mainly opposed by the Democrats. Al Gore Sr. voted against him. So did, what's his name, old boy from West Virginia.
Bird?
Yeah, Robert Byrd, and most of your white Southern Democrats voted against him. Now, today is the 50th anniversary of the Martin Luther King speech.
I have a dream.
And, somebody said, well, his speech was great, but they just look at all of the problems that he had to eventually get to Washington. That he was arrested, that he had regulations passed against him, that he had surveillance, he had the FBI investigating him, and somebody said, well, exactly who was the Attorney General when all this was going on? And the Attorney General was Robert Kennedy. The President was John F. Kennedy. The people who opposed...
No. Yeah, okay, I go on
The people
there.
who opposed the Civil Rights Act Well, mainly you're Southern white Democrats.
Well, you know, they never thought about refusing to, the Attorney General never thought about deciding to pick and choose which laws they were going to enforce, like they do now.
Yeah. Well, I think they may have done it somewhat, but not as frequently as they do it now.
Well, I'm tired of talking. Let's take another call.
Pardon?
I said, I'm tired of talking. Let's take another call.
Hey.
TV.
Well, you know the song Amazing Grace.
Yeah,
That black man came off of a slave boat.
that black man was white. He was John Newton.
Well, he got off of the slave boat, got himself as a guard, and he wrote Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound.
That was not a black man.
I understood it was a black man.
Well, whoever told you that was wrong.
Well, he worked.
But he was a slave. He was a slave trader.
Well, okay. They wrote Amazing Grace off a slave.
He was a captain of a slave boat, and he was John Newton, and he did write Amazing Grace. And
Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
you've done 2 songs for us tonight.
He keeps harping that people won't work. They can't work if they don't have any factories or any jobs or anything to work at, and we sure need some in this county.
There's more work out there than factories if you're looking for it.
Well, you can't run up and down the bank all day like me and you used to have to do.
No, but you can get out and pick up cans or more
Pick up
people.
cans my rear. You can't get 15 cents a pound out of cans.
Well, you can get 44, can't you?
What?
44 cents a pound.
How did you get
Well,
40?
Well, now, if you're looking for work, you take what you can find.
That's true.
it won't buy you can't sell enough of them to buy your food and pay
Well,
your
then what you need to do if you don't want to pick up cans, you get out and I guarantee you can find all the work you can handle if you want work.
Well, I tell you what, if you get along these roads picking up cans now, you'll get swapped up against the bank.
Okay, but there's plenty of work. It may not be what you want to do, and it may not be $15, $20 an hour, but there's work out there.
There's work, but good God, you can't stand the heat and the cold and work for 15 cents an hour.
Well, I don't believe you can find a job, but don't you? First off, if you work, you can make a whole lot more than 15 cents an hour, and then ain't nobody promised you a rose garden.
Any health insurance for people, they cut back to under 50 and don't have to pay it. There's no way you can keep your health insurance.
Yeah, okay.
Fellas like some that I know are preaching this stuff, you just don't get it, boys. Take care.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you. Well, you know, in, when was it, 1965, the unemployed black population was about 10%, and the unemployed white was between 4 and 5%. Today, there's a higher percentage of black people unemployed than there's ever been in the history of our country. There are a higher percentage of unmarried births than has ever been before.
Both black and white.
Pardon?
Both black and white.
Oh yeah, white's almost as bad as percentage-wise as the black people. But the federal government, to me, has played such a tremendous part in breaking up the family, both black and white.
That is the
There
problem.
was a time there where if you're 17 to 18 years old, you got pregnant, you could go to the government and you could get a place to stay. You could get food stamps, and you could get a check each month. So what in the world did you need a man for that you had to go around and pick up his dirty underwear? Because you could live by yourself and the government provided you with what you needed. And that has led to women saying, well, we don't really need a man to support us. Or we don't need a man that we're going to have to support.
And I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
Back when the shirt factory was running in La Follette, there was a lot of men that the only men that had come in was what the